Love Travels Full Circle by Miss Susie Parvati Reeves. I never thought that glancing through a fashion magazine could rearrange the pages of my life's history book. I was soaring in my career as a fashion designer in Montreal, Canada when my world overturned for the good. Browsing through the December 1975 issue of Vogue magazine to see the latest fashions, my eyes noticed a black and white picture of a charismatic man with afro hair. His name was spelled in bold letters, Satya Sai Baba, a name Elle had never heard of, but the word Baba caught my attention. In my native language, Hungarian, Baba means doll, and Elle always loved dolls. The article appeared in the magazine's travel section, written by an Englishman who had spent 4 months in Prashanti Nilayam, Sai Baba's ashram in Puttaparthi, South India. I felt an immediate magnetic attraction, looking at the page, and began reading it, which Elle seldom did as Elle was only interested in the latest fashion. Soon, I was devouring each word written by the author, who was evidently an ardent follower of Sai Baba. He concluded that Sai Baba is the embodiment of pure love. That statement mesmerized me, and within moments Elle decided to meet this person to see him for myself. All my life Elle was looking for pure love but never found it. Guided by a strong intuition, Elle made plans and without any references, guidance, or address set out for South India in September 1976. An unwelcome welcome. I just carried a backpack, traveling 13,000 kilometers not knowing exactly what awaited me. But Elle was carrying huge emotional baggage that even Elle was not aware of. As a Jew and a child survivor of the Holocaust, Elle had been traumatized in a manner that only those who have endured it can understand. My heart and soul sought healing love so desperately that the very thought of meeting the embodiment of pure love was enough to undertake the trip to the unknown. After a long flight with a number of delays and a long journey by road, Elle reached Prashanti Nilayam on a sweltering afternoon to find that Sai Baba had left the ashram that morning. My hopes of finding a sympathetic welcome were soon dashed. First, the accommodation office refused to let me stay for longer than a week. They said that Elle was not serious but someone who went from ashram to ashram. Next, the room Elle was given was nothing more than a concrete cube with no furniture and a primitive bathroom. But these hardships did not deter me. I prayed to God to lead me to where He wants me to be. I wrapped myself as best as Elle could in an Indian sari and went out to look at the temple and a compound. An old lady rudely rebuked me for walking with my sandals on the sacred ground, and then pulled me aside and started rewrapping the sari the proper way. Shortly after this, when Elle went to the canteen to have lunch, a Western lady devotee told me that Swami had left the ashram that morning for Anandpur. A dramatic change of plan. Staying in the ashram, I began to follow the routine, waking up at 3:30 a.m. for morning devotional program of Omkaram, Suprabhatam, and meditation. As Elle sat in the mandir, Elle was struck by a sense of deja vu that Elle had seen this place many times in my dreams about heaven. Experiencing it now convinced me that it was true. My German roommate, who had been at the ashram before, guided me in everything, including wearing a sari properly. She heard that Swami would be coming back for the Dasra festival. One day Elle was seated in the mandir during morning bhajans when all of a sudden there was a collective gasp of excited anticipation. The most beautiful and captivating being Elle had ever seen in my life floated into the bhajan hall. It was my first darshan of Sai Baba. I waited with bated breath for him to recognize me and give me a welcome look. But there was absolutely no sign that he saw me. Yet Sai Baba seemed very familiar to me, like seeing my father or my beloved uncle. The next day Elle was walking to the room, passing an open door at the back of the Purnachandra auditorium, when Elle saw Sai Baba standing there. He looked at me as if he had known me for ages. There was a smile on his face and his eyes seemed to be radiating joy. Elle had received my welcome from Baba himself. My life takes a new turn. Dasra festival began and one day, Swami walked down the aisle between the ladies and gents in the Purnachandra hall. When Swami was nearby, a lady from England sitting next to me asked him for an interview. Her group was leaving soon. Swami agreed to see them. Then looking at me, he asked, "Are you leaving too?" "No, Swami, don't go. Stay here." All I could utter was, "Yes, Swami." Swami continued walking all the way to the back of the hall, but Elle was shaken by uncontrollable sobbing as if all the pain I suffered in this life had erupted. The Indian lady sitting next to me patted me gently and told me to stop crying because Sai Baba does not like to see tears. Elle managed to stop sobbing, but there were surely telltale signs when Swami approached me on his way back. He stopped near me and with the sweetest, knowing, compassionate smile pointed to his feet, and Elle managed to do my first awkward Padnamaskar. Floating on clouds, Elle went to the accommodation office and told them that Sai Baba had asked me to stay. The person in charge meekly nodded and gave me an extension. I am sure that even he did not have the slightest idea that the extension would last for a full 24 years, from 1976 to 2000. Loving God becomes the sole goal. I started reading all the books available on Swami. Yet I always doubted that God could have a form because in my Jewish faith God is considered formless. One day during darshan, Elle was seated in the second row. Swami walked by without looking at me, but after going forward 2 steps, he looked back directly into my eyes. That very moment Elle felt my inner consciousness unravel like a ball of wool, soaring into the cosmos, leaving the body behind. Was it seconds or minutes? I lost count of time. After what seemed like an eternity, Elle had to avert my eyes. In an instant, Elle knew that Elle was in the presence of the universal power, God. When the doubts vanished came the realization that loving Him and receiving His love were the goals of my life. I had a desire to receive an Indian name instead of Susan. A lady devotee suggested that Parvati was a good choice. My mother's name started with P, so I liked the idea, but Swami had to give his permission. I wrote and gave a letter to Swami, and as he took it, I saw a smile of approval. Amazingly, the special confirmation came sometime later when Swami called me for an interview and addressed me, "Parvati, Parvati, Parvati." Later in the day, Professor Kasturi, the chosen biographer of Swami, recited the story of the Himalayan princess, Parvati, who with her perseverance and unswerving faith and devotion to Lord Shiva became goddess Parvati. From then on, she was my inspiration. Swami gives me a new career. Years rolled by with daily darshan, bhajan, and sadhana. I would follow with other devotees wherever Swami went, Puttaparthi, Whitefield, or Kodaikanal. One day quite early on, Elle had the idea to paint Sai Baba from the first photograph Elle have seen. After days of painting, finally, the 1 meters by 1 meters canvas was completed. I carried the painting with me to darshan and set it so that Swami could see it, but he consistently ignored it. Finally, at Brindavan Ashram in Bangalore, he looked at it and asked who painted this. L did Swami, very good, lifelike. You will paint many photos of Swami. I did not understand the importance of Swami's statement till he began to assign me the task of painting his photos for hostels, schools, colleges, and hospitals. They were blessed tasks that L enjoyed even though I was often frustrated in striving to capture Swami's divine beauty. I always prayed, Swami, you do the work, I only hold the brush. One memorable event occurred when the standing, life-sized, oil painting of Swami in the Bhajan Hall altar got damaged and was sent to me to fix. There was a gaping hole in the canvas at the position of the lotus feet. I was overwhelmed at his trust and confidence in me. But L knew that only Swami's miracle can do the repair. I followed the inner guidance, working almost in a trance. As the repair progressed, with layers of new paint, the hole was covered and the painting was fully restored. Swami was pleased and soon began calling me Painter Parvati. When devotees brought paintings of Swami as offerings, he would say, "Send it to Parvati. She knows how to paint Swami's hair and nose." L retouched the paintings and Swami was happy. But he never expressed it to me in person or in public. I would hear about the praise from others. Swami only pointed out errors and mistakes to me in a nice way. I did not mind this, but my heart still craved his love and appreciation. It is only later that L understood that Swami expressed his love in ways that did not create jealousy and negative thoughts that could be harmful. Farewell and lessons learnt in the year 2000. After 24 years at his divine lotus feet, Swami communicated to me in silent ways that it was time to leave the ashram. I had a dream where L was sitting on the floor of a dry swimming pool and I clearly understood that the pain and suffering carried from the childhood trauma of the Holocaust had all dried up and L was breathing again. During darshan, as Swami passed me, L felt as if two enormous wings were growing on my back and L was ready to fly. The next vision was a bird's nest, where the mother bird was gently prodding and pushing the fledglings to fly away. I realized the messages were meant for me and L wrote a letter to Swami with 3 questions. He passed me in darshan, at a distance, with a little smile on his face, not taking the letter, but said, "Yes, yes, yes." The place that drew me was Israel, where L spent my student days at the University of Fine Arts. One summer, years ago, I had asked for permission to travel there, and now Swami sent a message, "Tell Parvati she can go to Israel." It was the year 2000. An amazing sequence of events unfolded in Israel. Since L had not yet turned 60, L was accepted into academic work, and as a result, L could retire with a pension that is still sufficient to sustain me happily. I had gone to Sai Baba in quest of pure love. I realize now that L traveled from Montreal to Puttaparthi to Tel Aviv to find that love in my own heart. It was a full circle. Swami, the master goldsmith, had hammered, burned, and removed the impurities, till my heart was pure enough to reflect him, making me his Bangaru, gold, as he used to call us endearingly. Love is an ocean. There is no his love or my love. When ego, anger, and jealousy are gone, we become that love, one with him, and the nectar of pure love never stops flowing. Miss Susie Parvati Reeves.